What did you think of that new Spider-Man movie? Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a one-of-a-kind sequel to a heart-palpitating, mouth-watering franchise. There's more spider people, more web-slinging interdimensional action, more tantalizing visual gymnastics, and a story with enough chutzpah to bring you to tears if you got daddy issues. The story brings the viewer back to the roots of what being Spider-Man means, because in the sea of spider people, Miles Morales is the last Spider-Man clutching onto hope. A hope so visceral, so profound that he'll fight the entire Spider-Verse if it means he gets a fraction of a chance to change a destined canon event, the death of a man who instilled with him hope, his father. Because aside from the grand scheme, this movie is really about family, about the effort it takes to be there for your loved ones, about the torment of abandoning them, and the lengths we would go to protect them. Across the Spider-Verse is more than just a superhero movie veiled under a Spidey mask. It's a story that rips you from your seat, dazzles you with artistic flair, and shoves some of the most difficult moral quandaries in your face to reflect on. But isn't it just a cartoon? Every single frame of this movie would be impossible in traditional media because it uses its comic book roots to break the conventions of cinema. We were filled with childlike delight when we became gravity-defying Spideys, where the definition of ground wasn't limited to the concrete of Harlem, where the underside of a skyscraper ledge became a place where you can get butterflies talking to a long-lost friend. Through comic panels, mixed media, and captions, every single frame is handcrafted to support the narrative. Think of when Gwen Stacy reveals her identity to her father. Gwen's usual universe is dreamlike, with details slightly diluted by water and pastel colors that shift with the spectrum of emotions. But all that changes when her father divides their relationship with a pointed gun. All the details melt away, leaving her father and his gun to stand out, cascaded in the penetrating red of betrayal. Even though Across the Spider-Verse contains characters from the live-action Prowler to the collage Spider-Punk Hobie, the art styles interacting with one another is an aesthetic renaissance that you can't help but look at, mouth agape in bewilderment. Who's even the villain in Across the Spider-Verse? Don't lie, we all thought Spot would have a bigger role because they lied in the trailers. Because guess what? It's not always the big scary villain that creates conflict. Sometimes it's the people who think they know what's best for you. Sometimes it's a rugged hottie named Miguel who's only trying to prevent the destruction of a web of dimensions. And sometimes we get so caught up in a good cause that we don't see the villain it's making out of us. Because Miguel was the villain in Across the Spider-Verse. The man whose yearning for family led to the annihilation of everyone he loved and everyone who was the unknowing harborer of an anomaly. That guy? Are you sure it's not the selfish teenage boy who'd risk the cataclysm of reality to save one person? Here lies the main conflict of the movie. Our minds are torn between the regret of Miguel and the hope of Miles. So even though Spot wasn't the big baddie of this film, he will be Miles Morales' nemesis. Every confrontation in this movie started from Spot. He brought Gwen and Miles back together. He started the conflict that introduced canon events, and when he was at the peak of his power, he promised Miles,
"See you back home, Spider-Man."
What's beyond the Spider-Verse? Were you left fist clenching the theater seat, salivating at the mouth for the big confrontation between Spot and Miles, only to see to be continued? Beyond the Spider-Verse will end up being the ultimate culmination of this story. So while Across the Spider-Verse will be a bittersweet experience now, we are sacrificing our gratification for a story that'll teach us lessons we want to pass down to our kids, to flesh out characters we'll want to call friends, and to craft frames of visual storytelling that'll read like the Odyssey. Across the Spider-Verse is already a complete package with a thought-provoking story littered to the brim with our wildest Spidey imaginations. So the continuation will truly be beyond anything we could ever have hoped for.